Sir, there is absolutely no gas available at all. Just 102. We look at the cone and allow it. Return instructor Andrejos, but I'm out of gas. Gas. Hi, it's me, Andres, and this is the Ducati Monster Y Suzuki SV 650, the last one. Although I don't know if it's the last one, maybe one of the few, or maybe the last. Correct me if I'm wrong. A naked bike motorcycle with a proper trellis frame. Everyone who complains that the Ducati Monster doesn't have a trellis frame should take a look at the Suzuki SV 650. Because it does. It's red. Other than that, it's just the SV 650 motorcycle we've known for years. Super friendly. Super charming. Personally, I like it a lot. It's in Suzuki's test park this year, so I took it. I just thought to myself, okay, this motorcycle has probably been reviewed and tested in every possible way, so I came up with an idea. What are we going to do? We're going to do something useful and practical because I have drum roll cones. I'm about to do something that, in my opinion, is the best idea for spending autumn on a motorcycle, and maybe even those relatively warm days in winter. Because the thing is, it's going to get colder and worse now, and those longer rides start to make less sense. There won't be any more track days, but there's one way to practice riding a motorcycle and get better. Well, maybe not a better motorcyclist, but a motorcyclist who can ride better. And this is something we can practice almost all year round. As long as it's dry and above zero, for example. And it's best when the sun is shining and the asphalt is grippy. This is Gymkhana. Gymkhana requires a motorcycle, a bit of open space, and some cones. Or, I don't know, bottles or anything else that can mark out some reference points for us. In my opinion, Gymkhana is the most amazing, the most enjoyable, and one of the coolest ways to ride a motorcycle and improve your skills. I'll explain why in a moment. Don't let anyone tell me they don't have a place to do this. Listen, there's always a place. I used to do stunt riding. I was always able to find some spots. You know, we had a popular supermarket right now. I've ridden in all sorts of places, just going from one spot to another. I was looking for a place where I could ride, where I wouldn't get kicked out. And you know what? I often found them, and it was never a problem. And now I'm going to ride my bike. If security comes up to me, I'll just say, guys, I'm practicing my riding technique on the bike so I can ride safely. And they'll probably just say, aha. If the motorcycle is quiet and we're not doing anything stupid, there won't be any problems. So we'll start with the absolute basics, which is the GP8, but really it's just a figure 8. Now I'll show you what it's all about. I'm doing everything by eye, of course. This will be the starting point. I mean by eye and not literally by eye. Without any professional measurements, I'm just doing this for my own enjoyment. From the starting point to the first cone of the GP8, it should be 3 meters. 1, 2, 3. Let's assume that's 3 meters. And now, from this cone to the next cone, it should be 12 meters. 12. Why does it have to be exactly that much? Well, because that's the standard size for the GP8. And here we can have some reference. A benchmark meaning time. This is the basic figure performed by all Gymkhana competitors in every Gymkhana competition. And here we can observe who achieved what time on which motorcycle. You see, there are some records around 30 seconds, but you can't really do just one in 30 seconds. You have to do 5 of these figures. You might think a figure 8 is nothing more boring. Indeed, there is nothing more boring if you're talking about the figure 8 for the driving license exam. Because all of us were tormented by that figure 8, and when trying to pass the exam, it looked like this. We all know it. Now, let me show you how the figure 8 for the driving license differs. The figure 8 for the driving license looks like this. Sir, no throttle, first or maybe second gear. We look at the cone, we allow it. We turn. Here we do this. Here we do it like that. And there you go, calmly, in a straight line, to the target. We'll pass the exam. Exactly, and that's rain, that's boring. But if it turns out we want to do this figure 8 really fast, then it turns out it's not so simple anymore. Hop, skip. Oh, you see, it jerked. It's truly not an easy task to accomplish by any means. Oh, I almost put my foot down. The tires will warm up in a moment. How many of these have I done? Ah, right. The problem is you also have to be able to count, which isn't exactly my strong suit. Well, there you go. All right, I made it. And now, what's the whole point of this exercise? The whole point is to ride. To go from one cone to the next, we have to use the throttle to accelerate between each cone. But to make it through the turn, we need to use the front brake, and ideally, the rear brake as well, which helps us tighten the turn. And at this point, pay attention to this. We are constantly using the throttle, learning throttle control and brake control. Because the faster we go, the more the motorcycle will lean, the more the tires will be at the limit of grip, and we'll start to feel the bike sliding. And here's a question. Where else is smooth throttle and brake control useful? Everywhere. In my opinion, riding a motorcycle is all about skillfully operating the throttle and brake, and then adding body movements to that. And this applies to riding motocross, on asphalt, on big tracks, on small tracks, on the street, on winding roads. Simply put, absolutely everywhere. It's a game changer. And we can learn this look at how little space we need. And this is just the beginning. All right, I'll try to count how many I've done now. Did I do 5 or 4? I don't know. I'll tell you, I'm not the best when it comes to counting, but so it's fun. Now, here's a tip. The SV 650 is really well suited for this because it has a twin-cylinder engine. Just give it some gas and it takes off right away. But this engine, because it has 2 cylinders, as you saw, sometimes it can jerk a bit if you close the throttle and then open it again. Not only does it jerk, but it also accelerates so much that you might want to hold on tight. And now, my personal advice, something that I find to be incredibly useful and highly effective, not just for navigating extremely tight maneuvers like these challenging situations, but I often extensively use this particular technique, this specific brake application, even when I am riding on the open road in various conditions. The rear brake is just a game changer. Using the rear brake, you know, if I were a bit smarter, I would have mounted a camera on the rear brake right now. Maybe I'll do that next time if you write to me and ask me to do it. It ends up with me, instead of fully closing the throttle, keeping it slightly open at this point, but I dampen the engine, the motorcycle, with the rear brake, which makes everything happen more smoothly. It's a great thing because the truth is, no matter what kind of motorcycle it is, the transition from a closed throttle to an open one is always the trickiest moment, because suddenly the mixture comes in and the engine starts generating torque and power. And if the throttle is just slightly open, then at that moment we'll have smooth operation and we control the power and torque with the rear brake. So if I hold it just a little, you know, look, you can even do it like this. We're riding slowly, 20 kilometers per hour. I've got the throttle steady and the rear brake on, and look, I'm riding and it just goes like this. I ride and it slows down, speeds up, all smoothly, right? But what if I try to do this with the throttle? It would go like this. You see that kind of jerkiness? Once again, instructor Andrzej demonstrates what an instructor I am. Accelerate to 30, then slow down again to 20. Accelerate to 30, I slow down to 20. And now I do the same thing using the rear brake. Quick. Alright, I accelerate to 30. I slow down to 20. You see it? Because even though I'm closing the throttle a little, I'm not letting it close completely. And then, thanks to this, we don't have that transition from closed throttle to open throttle. We don't have jerking. We take better care of the traction, and the motorcycle is more stable. Cool, right? Yes. Come on, Andrzej. 8. Once again, let's see if I've learned anything or if the tires have warmed up. Just a little crooked. Well, okay. 3, 2, 1. That was the second one, right? Is this the fifth? Because then, you see, that's exactly why I, for example, don't vlog when I'm riding on the track. Because when I focus on riding, and as soon as I started talking, the bike started jerking because I wasn't precise with the throttle and the brakes. And there you go. So listen up. Look! I barely rode, and the tire already looks almost fully scrubbed in. And what's the kicker? When riding Gymkhana, you can scrub your tires and look for grip in a very safe way. I suggest we move on to the next maneuver. Alright, I was thinking about doing the Shikoku figure, which is basically just some extra cones like in GP8. And you can do all sorts of twists there, but I decided, nah, that's too easy. So now I've set up the Razor figure. And I was thinking, it's not simple, because it looks simple. But in Gymkhana, we need to know how to read the choreography. Meaning, the arrangement of the cones and the path we need to take. So the Razor is divided into 4 sections. And I suggest we first practice them one by one. The first one looks more or less like this, I think. Alright. I'm riding the Razor, the first section. And look at this, it's a blast. Honestly, I have to admit the SV is a really cool motorcycle because the frame, it's so 90s. It's, as they say, over-engineered, meaning it's designed to be more than necessary. That's one of the reasons why these SVs are so popular in the Super Twin class, because the frame is very, very stiff and you can feel it. This motorcycle is super stable, not just here in a parking lot like this, but in many conditions. And at the same time, it has soft and comfortable suspension. And the soft suspension helps with these kinds of maneuvers because it dives nicely, it grips well when we're coming out. That's certainly enough praise for the S-Follow Me to perform another precise and deliberate eraser maneuver. As you can clearly observe here, I am already skillfully engaging both the front and rear brakes simultaneously, demonstrating a balanced and controlled approach to deceleration. For instance, I was consistently and carefully applying the rear brake throughout the entirety of that challenging and winding curve, subtly and progressively sneaking up to the critical left turn, specifically to effectively tighten up the line and maintain optimal control and trajectory through the corner. I have no idea whether that's right or wrong. That's just how I ride. It might turn out that at the highest level, you just have to throw yourself into that corner and trust that the tires will hold. But I'm giving you tips that are useful for normal riding, which is contra again, both the front and rear brakes. So once again, we start, quickly enter the corner throttle. Throttle, brake, a bit throttle, brake with the front, turn the handlebars, throttle, brake, turn throttle. And normally in Gymkhana, I think you have to stop after the finish. But it's fun, right? You can ride. Let's do it again, because every time I go through it differently. Oh, scrape the foot peg. Alright, we can say that I more or less know how the first section goes. Now we'll add the second section. Things are getting complicated. So, yeah, we go like this. You know, the first section I was finishing it wrong. Well, you know, you have to practice to learn. Boom! Alright, let's do it again. Let's do the whole thing. I mean, both sections from the start. Yeah. That's more or less how it looks. Listen, the truth is that even if I don't do it perfectly, if I make a mistake somewhere, or I don't know, for example, I remembered the route wrong, when I'm practicing just for myself, let's be honest, it doesn't make any difference. And if we eventually end up at some Gymkhana training or competition, that's when we'll learn to do it correctly. So seriously, if I'm making any mistakes when it comes to the maneuvers, please correct me. Now let's try to ride it a bit faster. And that was awesome. Now let's add the third section to it. Listen, I'm going to be a bit cheeky and try to add the third and fourth section so we have the full set, because it turns out the third one is kind of a reversed version of the second. So here's how we go. Zip, zip, zip. We brake, click, zip. Here are the double cones. Pop. Here, a little U-turn, zip. Double cones again. Just one more quick click. And I got lost. But it's fine, there will be a cheat sheet in a moment. One more time. Listen, it's time for a moment of honesty. I got really lost on this eraser, but so what? It's still fun, so I'll try a few more times. And I have an idea. I'll call this video, Let's Learn Gymkhana Together. Not, I'm teaching you Gymkhana. Because I showed you what Gymkhana is, and now, for example, we can learn it together. Yeah, all you need is a little bike, some cones, and a spot. And here I could have go, ah! Wait, I think I'm starting to get it. Honestly, I have no idea if that's what an eraser looks like, but I liked what I just came up with myself. One more time. Anders, maybe you need to start more from the basics. Alright, listen, I have an idea. Let's do it so that this isn't the last time, okay? Quickly pick up the cones. Now look at this. I wanted to draw your attention to this. The rear tire bam closed off. The front one as usual, but I know that when you speed up in Gymkhana, you close off the front too, so it's just awesome. You know what? I didn't give myself enough time for Gymkhana because I forgot how much I enjoy it. So I have an idea. Let this be the very first and initial part about the exciting sport of Gymkhana. Now I get it. Let's learn Gymkhana together. I'll keep practicing myself. Maybe you can practice too. And if you're already practicing, maybe reach out, leave a comment. Alright, listen, until next time, let's learn Gymkhana together. It's just awesome. And thanks to this, we can extend the season together a bit. Take care. Bye.